What's going on, guys? Today we got a blog post from the Destiny dev team talking about Season 2 weapons and giving us a little bit of preview and some dev insights to what we should expect when Season 22 rolls around next week. Now, there's a ton of great stuff in here as well as some descriptions. Don't worry, we're not going to go over every single line because I've already highlighted everything that I deem is important, but I will mention stuff that isn't highlighted so you guys get a good grasp of what's going on when Season 22 rolls around. So, we'll get right to this. It's already here. Monte Carlo. The catalyst that's coming to it is something we all expected. It's basically turning it into a glaive. So yeah, they have a breakdown of that down below. So honestly, stuff like this I like studios doing. I praise Rainbow Six Siege a lot at doing this, but they were going in detail about a lot of stuff with primary weapons in PvP and how they go about their weapon balancing. And they show graphs, hand cannons, pulse rifles in PvP. They're doing pretty good. Submachine guns a little bit underperforming, but again, based on this line, they're being successful and they're being highly used. Now, this is stuff that was highlighted before the patch, as we see the Immortal Reigning King, the Messenger Adept doing good, but they go about their challenges and, nerfing based on this factor. So after the patch, we saw that pulse rifles and hand cannons did go down, as well as SMGs coming up a little, but still, this is kind of the balance of what's going on. The Immortal, while the success rate has gone down, the usage rate did not slow down. So this is how they balance. It was a good little information in how they approach things. And more of this, please, Bungie. I like when you guys do this. So there are going to be some weapon changes and balancing that are coming, and some of them we already know about. So PvE kills with 2 special weapons equipped now generate heavy ammo at the same rate as 2 primaries or 1 primary, 1 special. This is a bug going on. It made double special really fun, something I was using on my warlock. I am sure that you can still circumvent this with some finishers and armor charges, but the viability of this has definitely taken a little bit of a hit. They go over reticles, nothing too crazy in my regard. Now, zoom and damage fall off tuning is something that is honestly very complicated, but we're going to cover it in a very simple way. So they decrease the variance between the optimal engagement ranges of our mid-range weapons, specifically auto rifles, pulse rifles, and hand cannons. Basically, they're trying to reduce the ranges that these weapons have. So let's say right now, they're all averaging out to a 40-meter range. Sometimes you want to make things a little bit closer because the fact that these weapon archetypes are extending into other ranges for other weapons makes them excel more than they should. So their goals here is to decrease that, slightly reduce the average engagement range in Crucible by pulling the maximum damage fall off distances of many weapons, again, how we mentioned before, and prevent individual weapons from overstepping their intended engagement ranges. All this stuff is kind of, I guess we could say, a rock, paper, scissors, shoot approach to weapon balances. SMGs, shotguns, sidearms, they should be really good in the close quarter side of things. Pulse rifles, auto rifles, and hand cannons should kind of balance out those medium range engagements. Scout rifles, sniper rifles, long range weapons, they should really cater towards those exceedingly long ranges. And right now, they're acknowledging that, hey, sometimes these weapons overstep, or weapon archetypes overstep their intended ranges, and balancing that is pretty good. So in order to do this, they're doing something called range compression. And this is going to change how zoom works entirely. So what did zoom do before? Well, it used to scale damage fall off distances, scales aim assist fall off distance, increases accuracy, and reduces recoil. But in Season 22, we have removed the first benefit from that list. So scales damage fall off distance is now going to be gone. But they're going to be replacing with a new stat called aim down sights damage fall off scaler, which we have applied to all weapons that can experience damage fall off. So they go into a very complicated numbers, but basically in a very simple way from what the graph is showing is that right now things are going to be a lot more basic on what zoom and range means. A lot of times currently you have to go through all these different sites to see the max range fall off and things like that. And they're trying to simplify it to bring greater balance. My only complaint with this is it may make weapons feel a little bit boring or very much similar to other weapons. So all this stuff is great, but let's see how it applies. Zoom is something that has been an issue for Destiny PvP for some time. So the steps that they're taking to make things a little bit more consistent, hey, I'm all for it. Let's see how it pans out when Season 22 rolls around. Now, let's talk about weapon archetypes. They're giving a bunch of nerfs and puffs to PvE and PvP archetypes. So first off, in hand cannons in PvE, they're generally altogether going to be increasing the reload speed from at 0 stat by 15%. So hand cannon should feel a little bit faster to reload. How does this leak into the effectiveness of it in PvP? Let's see how that goes, but that should be a nice little boost to the hand cannon archetype in general. But PvE specifically, they're going to be increasing damage to red bars by 20% and increasing the damage against major combatants, orange bars, by 75%. This is pretty big in my opinion. Hand cannons specifically, let's see how Fatebringer feels now, how other 140s now feel. I think they might, go into a very, hey, if you guys are accurate, you guys are flicking, you guys land critical shots, these might be very rewarding high skill weapons to use in PvE. Let's see how that all pans out. And we're getting a little bit of a sneak peek into a new subfamily for hand cannons called Heavy Burst. So they changed Warden's Law to be the first member of the new subfamily, Heavy Burst, and this now fires a 2-round burst. So I guess they want to kind of bring in the archetype of what the Crimson does, the exotic. Now that's a burst, like a 3 burst, but hey, firing 2 bursts is intriguing. Let's see how that goes. They've done some stuff to bows that honestly I still don't think is going to be important. They've also fixed a bug with SMGs. Sidearms, they're reducing the base damage from 32 to 30 on aggressives. Pulse rifles, they've done some balancing, so they're going to bring the zoom back up to 20 for BXR Battler. Shotguns, they've fixed the impact stat on the Comedian, nothing too crazy. And then fusion rifles, they've actually done a different nerf to fusion rifles on a perk side of things, but they fixed an issue here that let's see how things go when it comes to fusion rifles viability. Now, Waveframe, heavy grenade launchers, this is something I love, and the problem with them, as I stated, is that you can kill yourself pretty easily. So the size and damage of self-damage AoE is now reduced. This should make it safer to fire a projectile closer to your feet. Now, swords, they have an interesting line here. So swords don't hold much value because although they excel in ease of use and are ammo rich, they require users to put themselves directly in harm's way. And a lot of their changes here is basically to bring in the block mechanic for the swords up in line with the glaive. And the hopes here is to make swords a little bit more viable, but they're still going to be in a niche regard, which I think is perfectly fine. For those who want to make swords work and those who just want to use swords besides the lament in certain areas of the endgame activities like Deepstone and the Last Wish raid, this should be intriguing to see how it works in some of those basic rotator modes and those playlist modes. And the great thing of this all, if you guys are wondering if this is going to affect the Lament exotic sword has been a special case, so its charge rate and delay are unaffected, but it still benefits from the increased guard damage reduction and duration. So some of the charge rates and delay that are being changed for other swords are not going to apply here, but the benefits from increased guard damage reduction and duration is going to be on the Lament as well. Now, when it comes to the glaive, here is what their example is. You basically use it as normal, but you're gonna have to proc, like I guess you could say you pull out the grenade launcher for the Quicksilver Storm in order to lock this bayonet charge. It looks pretty powerful. Not much talked about on it in my opinion. I didn't see anything here about like, oh, this does this damage, stuff like this. It's a new catalyst that should be, intriguing to get, intriguing to use. This Monte Carlo exotic should be a great primary altogether. It is an exotic auto rifle as well as a kinetic damage weapon. So the damage there for a lot of stuff in PvE is going to be in your favor if you guys like exotic primaries. Now, they're doing some stuff to fix an issue with Quicksilver Storm and Deadman's Tail. That's cool. Two-Tailed Fox is got a rework. So the Two-Tailed Fox now fires a 3-shot burst with the catalyst instead of firing 3 rockets in a 2-shot burst. In my opinion, Two-Tailed Fox is a very powerful rocket launcher that not many people are utilizing, so this catalyst getting a rework in this regard should make it even better. So, man, check out Two-Tailed Fox if you guys have the catalyst completed because it is amazing. The Monarch is getting a nerf, thank God. Now, this was specifically targeted for PvP in this regard to nerf, but they're also increasing it, or at least, bringing some stuff up in terms of a buff to PvE. So they reduced the draw time from 684 milliseconds to 612 milliseconds, reduced body shot damage from 100 to 85, increased critical hit multiplier from 1.5 to 1.6 damage. This is only in PvE. And then the crit damage against players goes from 150 to 136. They changed the poison effect, so reduced poison DOT duration from 3 seconds to 1.75 seconds, move from 8 damage ticks to 6, but poison deals the same total damage to players. Poison damage increase in PvE by 50%. So an interesting buff and nerf to Le Monarch. Hopefully this, and some of my frustrations with this weapon in PvP. Vex Metal Class is getting a little bit of a rework, so they've reduced the RPM from 390 to 360 to match high impact auto rifles, but they've also increased the damage against minor combatants red bars and major combatants orange bars by 25%. So this got a little bit of buff. I don't have Vex Metal Class, unfortunately. I'm still trying. And yeah, this should be a fun weapon to use. Tommy's match perk, the Scorch wasn't working as intended, or they, wasn't as expected. So it was previously 14 plus 7 with Ember of Ashes fragment equipped. Now it's 15 plus 5. So they're just making it more front loaded, which is great. Touch of Malice, they're increasing the final round damage in PvE by 20%. Decrease the self damage from final round from 10 to 7. Final round damage can no longer kill the user. Increase the health awarded by Touch of Mercy perk from 30 to 75. Set up Touch of Mercy to work like Unrelenting. Guardians and major combatants give more points towards activation, and we increase the time allowed between kills. Ball of Darkness now appropriately deals arc damage and will blind combatants and stun unstoppable champions. So a nice little healthy buff to Touch of Malice. So let's see how that plays out. Cloud Strikes saw a little bit of a nerf, so they reduced the lethal kill distance of lightning strikes against players. So if you guys hate Cloud Strike, I love it, and you guys hate that lightning strike, looks like it's got a little bit of nerf. We just don't know by how much. And then Wicked Implement, timing window for creeping attrition has been increased from 3.5 seconds to 4.5 seconds. You can now also activate Teething Harvest by destroying stasis crystals, and the Wicked Implement Exotic Catalyst now also includes the Headstone perk. See how that plays out. I'm not in love with this weapon, but hey, it may be great, it may be awful, who knows. And then finally, we got some changes to perks. So Bipod, they reduced the damage penalty from 40% to 25%. I still don't think that perk is going to be much of a value to me, but let's see how things go. Envious Assassin also got a perk. Specifically, they're just making it less complicated. There is no longer a time limit after kills within which you must activate the perk or get another kill. The perk will now activate even if the magazine is overflowed. It will stop activating once you hit maximum magazine size of 2.5 or greater. Envious Assassin now provides fractionally more ammo per kill instead of longer window of time after kill. So they're just making it less complicated. Under Over now provides bonus body shot damage against players with Woven Mail. Increase the bonus damage against combatant shields. Deals significantly increased damage to enemies who are enhanced by Dark Cabal overshields in addition to enemies shielded by Lucent Moths. The goal here for Over Under would just increase its viability in PvE, which I think is great for the endgame, as they are implying. Under Pressure got a little bit of a nerf. Reduce the maximum accuracy cone scaler from 0.5 to 0.75. Shoot to Loot, Valiant Charge got some differences, buffs and stuff like that. Don't really care. Ambush also got a retune. There was an issue that was unintended, so it no longer deactivates from healing, fall damage, and being shot by allies. Nothing too noticeable, but hey, it should be intriguing. Chill Clip got a little bit of a nerf, so they reduced the slow stacks from 60 to 40, and Wolfpack rounds no longer trigger this perk. So let's see how that plays out. Weapon crafting. You thought we were done? I thought so too. I almost forgot about this part entirely. So they mentioned here that Shirochi's weapon style of farming is not ideal, but instead of nerfing it, they're going to be bringing other options up to par. So things they are changing or boosted the activity progress across several activity types: Crucible, Trials of Osiris, Dares of Eternity, Wellspring, Gambit, and Platinum Score completions of Legend and Master Solo Lost sectors will increase this progression rate, which I think is all great. They're also adding the capability to directly increase a weapon's level through currency. So crafted and enhanced weapons will both receive a new mod slot in their weapon details where you can spend glimmer and enhancement cores to boost the level of the weapon. This mod will increase the weapon's level directly, leaving your existing progress towards the next level untouched. While there is no cap to how far you can boost this weapon's level to, the cost of this boosting will increase relative to the level of the weapon. Weapon usage is meant to be the main path for increasing a weapon's level. However, with the restrictions of how many weapons you can level at a time and the always increasing expansion to the amount of weapons that have a level, we wanted to provide an alternative method of leveling that allows for both the jumpstarting of a crafted weapon and also the ability to level a larger amount of weapons stockpiled in your inventory. We do not want the level boosting costs to feel prohibitive. However, we do want players to have to make choices over which weapons they want to boost. Let's see how things play in that regard now. They're also making a few changes to the crafting economy. Resonant and harmonic alloys will be deprecated starting season 22, but you can cash them in at Rahul for Glimmer before they remove the materials entirely. Now, Neo Muna weapon pattern acquisition confirms a theory my buddy Dennis had, as well as they're making it a lot more accessible to get crafted Neonuma weapons. So the Neonuma Weekly Pinnacle Mission Score Challenge will provide guaranteed Neonuma weapon pattern progress the first time it is completed each week. The Neonuma Vendor Engram upgrade will increase the drop chance of Deep Sight Neonuma weapons. This is retroactive if you have already claimed the vendor upgrade. The Throne World Vendor Engram upgrade will also receive the same behavior for the Throne World Deep Sight weapons, and again, this will be retroactive. Season 22 will also include a bug fix in the underlying Deep Sight drop system that manifested from the major overhaul system we did for the Lightfall expansion. This bug could decrease the deep sight drop rate as you near completion of a pattern set. Although this drop sight bug on its own would normally have a low impact on deep sight behavior, the problem was exacerbated when coupled with the lack of deterministic deep sight sources for Neonuma weapons. My buddy Dennis was convinced this was a thing, and it seems like it was a thing. It's hilarious that he was right on that. And that's pretty much it for this little update, Dev Insights. I can only imagine this being 50 minutes if I read every single line. But overall, a lot of good changes to the Season 22 weapon sandbox. Let's see how things play out. Again, a lot of changes when it comes to what's written. May sound amazing, but doesn't perform the same way as intended in the game when the update rolls around. So let's see how things play out when Season 22 rolls around. Let me know your thoughts on your favorite change, whether it's a nerf or a buff. If you guys also enjoyed this video and found this video informative, definitely be sure to drop this video a like, helps out the video a ton. And if you guys want more content from me, definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell to be notified for when I do drop more content. But that's all I got for this one. ShadowNinja here, and I'm out.
Tell me where you